And the big story that we are tracking is from the valley. Srinagar continues to be on the boil after Masarat Alam's arrest this morning. Now, massive protests broke out in downtown Srinagar area after the Hurriyat hardliner was arrested by the Jammu and Kashmir police. Protesters, led by a moderate Hurriyat leader, Mirwais Umar Farooq, indulged in stone pelting and clashes with the security forces. Protesters were demanding immediate release of Masarat Alam. Now, meanwhile, the 2611 mastermind Hafiz Saeed has yet again backed Masarat Alam. In his statement, JUD chief condemned Hurriyat hardliner's arrest and asked the Pakistani government to take up the issue.
ने आपके जम्मू कश्मीर में पथराव पहली बार हो रहा है भाई। लैंड ऑर्डर सिचुएशंस कभी कभी इमर्ज होते हैं। हमारी सरकार उस सिचुएशन को सख्ती से हैंडल करेगी, ये हमारी अपेक्षा है।
Well, we are now joined here, in fact, by BJP's Hina Bhatt from the Valley. Dr. Bhatt, it is your party really which is in power in Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, with the PDP, how are you looking at the situation which is developing on the streets right now? Ms. Bhatt, can you hear me? Well, we will try and reconnect, of course, to Hina Bhatt of the BJP. But meanwhile, these images playing out on your television screens from downtown area of Srinagar, where protesters, in fact, continue to enter into conflict with the police personnel who had to resort to tear gas shelling to Remember, Masarat Alam, the separatist leader who has been arrested. Also, massive protests, in fact, began in Tral the last week after following in that encounter, which the Defence Minister, Union Minister, in fact, Manohar Parrikar was backing the army action in that issue. And these protests now, in fact, following that, Masarat Alam, when he was leading those protests on Wednesday, he did raise pro-Hafiz Saeed slogans as well in that rally. And now Masarat Alam, of course, who was waving Pakistan flags as well in Srinagar, has been arrested. But there have been all that in exchange, in fact, stone pelting happening from the locals, from the protesters on the street. So Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi, also Union Minister, of course, trying to make that point that anybody with Talibani tendencies will not be spared. They can leave India. Shuja ul Haq, our colleague from Srinagar, joining me now. Shuja, first, a quick update on what really is the ground situation at this point in time.
Well, Smita, the ground situation is tense, at least in the old city areas of Srinagar. In the protest that started immediately after Friday prayers, at least 18 people have been reported injured, which includes some police personnel as well. This protest was this was first, after the prayer, the Mirwais decided to sit in for a protest and address people there, spoke to media. It was to draw attention towards the issues that they have with regards to Armed Forces Special Powers Act and laws like PSA. He also spoke about Tral encounter and how inquiry should be made on that. And once he left, there were protests with people clashing with the police force. Their tear gas smoke shells were lobbed at the protesters to disperse them off, and the situation was brought under control. But all of this has to be seen in the background of what has been happening over past few days. Since Wednesday, when the entire event of the rally at the Haidarpura at the residence of Gilani, Saeed Ali Shah Gilani of the Hurriyat faction of Gilani is concerned, there were pro-Pakistan slogans, and Masarat Alam was also seen there. The entire hue and cry started after that, and today is when Masarat Alam was arrested in the morning after more than 42 hours of that incident, and then onwards the entire pattern started. Today is also the day when the Hurriyat conference had given a Tral Chalo call for people to follow. That has been foiled with most of these leaders put under house arrest. But yes, situation continues to be tense.
Shuja, also the Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh there, of course, making those statements that no anti-national will be spared, and also adding that whatever action has to be taken, of course, will be initiated from the state government level itself. What is the next action that perhaps the government is contemplating? Because even while it keeps Masarat Alam behind bars, clearly sentiments will be running high on the streets.
that's a big point. You know, what is it that as a policy matter, they have decided between the two of them, BJP and PDP, who are in the government in the state? You know, PDP has made it clear, it eventually did succumb to pressure, but for last 48 hours, it did try to put across the point that it wants to fight the idea with an idea. Separatist ideology needs to be given some space so that there could be, you know, some space for talks and dialogue. That was the PDP's point of view, which the Mufti Muhammad Sayyid right from the beginning was trying to articulate. But eventually he fell on, you know, under the pressure, which was very clear. He ordered the arrest of Masarat Alam this morning. Now lies the big question. What is it that these two alliance partners have in their mind when it comes to decision or the policy making with regards to Kashmir? You and me know Kashmir is not just another state to govern.
Right.
The issues of Bijli, Pani, Sadak and development and progress are not the only issues here. There are bigger political problems, bigger political turmoil that need to be addressed and addressed in a manner which are at the end of the day tangible. So that clarity needs to come forward. What is it that the Mufti government, which is backed by BJP, have in their mind? Whether they have anything in their mind at all or not, that is something which has to be seen from here on.
Also, Shuja, you know, keeping in mind that Mirwais Umar Farooq is somebody who was so far considered the moderate faction of the Hurriyat, but the way he has also taken to the streets now today and the kind of images that we see related to him, do we see a kind of a shift of stance happening there as well?
Well, you really can't say that there's a shift of stance between them. Mirwais's faction is more or less seen as moderate, and they do not go to the extent that the other faction does. But eventually, the core issues, the issues that they come on the streets, if you look at it, what were the issues that he raised when he was outside the mosque, when he after the prayers, he was talking about the same things: Armed Forces Special Pass Act, PSAs, and also Tral encounter. These are the similar issues that even Gilani was making in his speeches and in statements. So when it comes to issues, there is a lot of similarity, and the manner in which it eventually develops is something that anyone who knows Kashmir will realize.
Right.
Any protest which has gone ugly or worse has started with a small little fire which has been ignited with one incident, like 2010. It started with one thing, and eventually it did take 6 months for the situation to come down, and an interlocutors team that was sent here.
Right.
But eventually what happened to that interlocutors team is something that only the government has to understand.
Absolutely. Shuja, stay with us. In fact, I'm joined also by the Strategic Affairs Editor, Gaurav Sawant, in fact, from the newsroom. Gaurav, give us a sense of what the Union, in fact, Home Ministry, the centre really is thinking at this point in time. They have a tie-up in the state, but are they apprehensive that the more, in fact, might that they use to quench the situation, that it might just have a severe, in fact, blowback as well?
From what my sources are telling me, that the government has advised the state government to not use disproportionate force, at the same time handle this situation to ensure that it doesn't spiral out of control. At the same time, the effort is to ensure that information war is not lost. Information war at this stage is extremely critical, so all facts will be put out in public domain so that nobody can mislead the masses. At this point of time, the government fears that the separatists will be able to mislead the masses, and that is why the entire truth, whether it's the Tral encounter that took place or the current situation, all of it will be brought out in public domain and let the people decide. Even now, the situation is restricted to certain Hurriyat-dominated pockets of Srinagar. There is no widespread tension, and that's the message that the Mufti government needs to give out, so that tourists don't cancel their bookings and that normalcy returns. This was anticipated after the Friday prayers, that there would be some amount of tension, but it just shouldn't spiral out of control.
Right, Gaurav Sawant, Shujaul Haq, both of you stay with us. In fact, we also spoke to Professor Radha Kumar, who was the previous government's interlocutor with, of course, all the stakeholders in the valley and in Jammu as well. Let's listen in to what she had to say.
There's little doubt that they are reacting in a way which is absolutely not going to help any kind of peace process. They are making every kind of peace process far more difficult. And when you have a new government, I would say you should not begin in this way. You should begin by looking at what reforms can be carried out and how you can work to improve the situation in Kashmir, which had gotten much better if you compare what it was in 2004 or 5 to what it was in 2008-9, it was still, the violence was down hugely, but there was certainly a simmering sense, which is what led to outbursts in 2008, 9 and 10 of human rights. Now, again, you have in Tral a similar kind of case of which honestly you should have started the inquiry immediately to find out what exactly happened there.